The first shot of the trailer starts us off with the exterior of the factory. This is the entrance area, as we can see the sign in the back there, right before the van pulls up. Here we can see our first look at the Fazbear Entertainment logo on the side of the van. This also looks like the same van that we see in the Help Wanted 2 DLC. The next shot shows us a long room full of mascot costumes and other props. It is important to note that this does resemble the room from Ruin. The next room that we see is a security room. This looks to be more FNAF 1 styled, as we can see the massive security door and all the cameras inside. There are also a few interesting items, like the fan and a little mushroom plushie, the mascot costume that we'll see in a little bit. You can also see a little clock showing 12 a.m. This might mean that there is a FNAF 1 styled minigame that will be in this room. You can also see some drawings over to the board on the left, and these are actually David's drawings, Edwin's son. They go into detail in the short stories how David would draw pictures for his dad Edwin, and he would hang them up around his workplace. You can also see a machine to the right, so I think that we'll need to use this to update our data diver, which you'll see later in the trailer. After this, we see a strange looking room with mascot costumes lined up on the wall. You can see through the gaps there that it looks to be a much bigger room that these are stored in, so it could just be a storage room for the mascot costumes. On the dog to the far right, you can see a red light pop up on its collar, which might mean that the mimic is inside of that one. Next, we see a much larger room with the white tiger mascot costume inside of it. The next thing we see is a factory hallway where we meet Jackie. This was in the PAX West demo during the Jackie chase scene, and you can see a little mouse toy on the box. We'll see that again later in the trailer. We then see another room that was in the PAX demo, which is a hallway, and on the wall you can see 4 posters lined up. 3 of those are the Fredbear's Family Diner posters that we see in Security Breach, but one of them is a poster for one of the new characters, that is Sharpay's Saloon. In the PAX demo, however, the elephant at the end of the hallway wasn't there. So this might be later in the game, when the mimic is going through the different costumes, or it could just be a cutscene that they did for the trailer. Now we see another room that was in the PAX demo, which is a large industrial looking room where Jackie's popping out of a vent here. This is part of the Jackie chase scene that people played in the PAX demo. The next room looks to have a puzzle in it, which will have us moving the pipes around inside of the machine. Inside of this room next to us, we can see the elephant mascot costume from earlier, but if you look closely, it looks like there's a person inside of the suit. This could be one of the previous workers from Team A or B that Fazbear Entertainment sent that got killed by the mimic while trying to capture it. This means throughout the game we're going to see bodies of the previous team members that failed to capture the mimic. This can be why the game is higher rated than the other games. If you look in the bottom left corner here, you can see a first aid kit on the wall that has the same logo as the one from Help Wanted 2. Here we can see yet another room from the demo, which is the one that the mailbot is in. This looks to be before Jackie gets into the room to chase us. This is basically just a mailroom that's looking into the factory. But on the table next to the mailbot, you can see a gift box, which people who played the demo did not see. This might mean that we're getting collectibles in the gift boxes again, just like in Security Breach. It also seems that these FNAF 1 style security doors are going to be all throughout the factory, instead of just the security room. Next, we appear to be opening a gate with the crank that we got from Jackie's box. Because in the PAX demo, players reported that to activate Jackie, you took the crank off the box, and then used it to open a gate. Here we can see a bigger storage room of sorts, with the mushroom costume inside of it. In the background, you can see a cardboard cutout of a new character. Next, we're actually outside on the roof, which would be the first time we go outside in a FNAF game, and it actually looks like it's snowing. So that means that this game takes place during winter. And since we know it takes place after the first Mimic story, that means it's either right after or a year after, since that one took place just before winter. Next, it looks like we're in a welcome room. We can see a tropical themed stage below us, and it appears that the welcome show option on the terminal that we use is going to be related to the stage down below us. The next room that we see appears to be a medical station, or like a first aid area. This is where the nurse animatronic Dolly is, and we can see some medical equipment and more posters in the background. Here we get a better look at the place we were in before, looking into the security room. This appears to be another storage room full of mascot costumes and props. You can see a lot of stuff in this room, but I'll go into that later. Right by the door you can see a generator that we actually activated earlier in the trailer, which means that to open up areas in this game, or to open up doors at least, we may be powering generators. Next we find ourselves in another section from the PAX demo, which is a tunnel where we're being chased by Jackie. And to finish off the trailer, we're in a really large room where the prototype Music Man bursts through the window and jump scares us. This room is pretty empty though, and looks like it could just be a stairwell, though it's unclear. Alright, now we're moving on to the characters that we can see in the trailer. The first character that we actually hear is Ron, which is the voice of Hand Unit. We know this because the person who in the Mimic story gives the workers the brief that you hear in the trailer is named Ron, and this appears to actually be the man behind the Hand Unit voice, instead of just the AI that is used by Fazbear Entertainment in all of the other locations. The first little prop that we can see is a clown dog. This was seen in the PAX demo, in the room that Jackie's box is in. This one here is not a mascot costume, though it might have a mascot costume that the Mimic will use later in the game. Over here we can see some little cutouts of balloon dogs. In the PAX demo, players reported seeing a larger balloon dog prop, so you may end up seeing these around the location. First actual mascot costume that we can see appears to be a blue spotted dog. At least I think it's a dog. It's pretty strange looking. We can see this a couple other times in the trailer. Next to this mascot costume you can see a cardboard cutout of Sharpay the poodle, which we see later in the trailer again, and in the poster in the hallway. These dog characters could potentially be linked to one another, and they could be the characters in Sharpay's salon. Over in the back we can see some cardboard cutouts of mini versions of Happy Frog. So this can be where the character that we see in Pizzeria Simulator started out from. We can also see a little worm guy next to them. We can maybe see a larger version of this in the game. You can see a goose prop or stuffed animal, which we see many times throughout the trailer, though it's not an actual mascot costume. We can see a cardboard cutout of a sleeping lion, and then we can see another cardboard cutout of a sheep. This might just be a reference to Steel Wool's mascot though. Here on the right we can see the head of a very strange mascot costume. It is very difficult to tell what it is, though it appears to have a pink mustache and goggles. My best guess is it could be an otter or something. The last thing we can see in this room is a cardboard cutout of the Jester costume from the actual epilogues. In the epilogues, the Mimic actually wore the Jester costume and ended up being spring-locked in it, so we could see him using this throughout the game. The next full mascot costume that we see is a blue mushroom, which was also from the epilogues. The Mimic wore it while hunting his victims. We can also see a red variant of this guy in the office room as a little plushie, so maybe there will be another variant of this costume in the game that we see. The design of this character also appears to maybe be a reference to one of Scott's older works, but that's up for debate. And the next costume that we see is this elephant that we see throughout the trailer. Though strangely, it is not the same elephant that we see in Ruin. They have different head shapes, and this one has tusks, which the one in Ruin does not have. Throughout the trailer, the elephant costumes are also all different, and as I was looking, it appeared that there was 3 different variants of it. You can tell by the clothes he's wearing. This one has a striped costume. The next one has more of like a solid color, but split halfway in the middle. And one after that has a different hat than the one we see here. I don't know why there would be 3 different costumes for this one character. Here we can see the white tiger costume. We saw this in the Help Wanted 2 DLC as a little plushie. This also could be the Mimic's main or favorite costume to wear in the game. The next character we see is not a mascot costume, but a full-on animatronic, and that is Jackie. We can see her chasing us in the trailer and hunting us. Her appearance here appears to be slightly withered, but in the PAX demo, by the end, people were talking about how she looked completely destroyed. So Jackie's role in the game might just be a tutorial boss fight or a chase scene. Next we see Mailbot, which is also in the PAX demo. He appears to be an early version of the staff bots that we see in Security Breach. And there appears to be a small typewriter or something attached to his body. In the PAX demo, this guy actually gets ripped apart by Jackie during the chase scene. Throughout the trailer, we can also see many cardboard cutouts and mini props of the Bee character. The ones that you see prominently throughout the trailer are all props and not actual costumes, though we do know it's an actual costume because you can see the head here in some parts. Over in the storage room, where the mushroom is hunting us in the background you can see a cardboard cutout of a space monkey. It's unknown if this is going to be an actual mascot costume in the game though. In this same room you can see what appears to be a bear or something above the mushroom. It's pretty unclear on what it is though. Over in the room with the welcome show, you can see a big cardboard cutout of a little crab character and a shark character. And there's the Bee prop again hanging next to them. We can also see the very first version of Helpy here, which is Helper. This means that Helpy is one of the oldest characters in the series, being around longer than Fredbear. Over in the nursing station we can see another animatronic, not a mascot costume. This is Dolly, which appears to be a nurse. On her back you can see air tanks, and this is actually because older animatronics did operate by using air tanks. I think it's unlikely that this is the Mimic wearing the suit. I think that this is either going to end up being a ally, or this animatronic is corrupted by the Mimic. We can also see another strange mascot costume head. This and the other weird mascot head that we see earlier in the trailer might be a part of the same gang or crew of characters. And next, in this large storage room, in the background we can see a cardboard cutout of a very early version of Monty. This could just be a alligator character, but I think it's likely that it is just a prototype version of Monty. We can also see a strange pink mascot costume hanging from the ceiling. I think that this could be a pig or a hippo, but right now it is hard to tell. We can also see a pig prop, which looks a lot like the pig from the VIP book. And at the very end of the trailer we can see a prototype DJ Music Man. He looks something like an old man with the horn instrument coming out of his face. His mouth appears to be a music box, which means that he could play music just like DJ Music Man did in Security Breach. On his actual body, you can see a lot of little hands protruding out of his torso. I don't know what the purpose of this would be. This is also a massive animatronic, so the Mimic can't be inside of this. So this means that it is corrupted by the Mimic, or just evil on its own. These are not in the trailer, but from the PAX demo we could see two more characters, which is an octopus on the Need a Hand poster, and an older version of Mr. Hippo, which looks a lot like the prototype Monty character. So now on to the gameplay mechanics. Distractions will be stuff like the toy mouse that we see used in the trailer a few times. So I'm guessing you'll find these around the factory and you can pick them up and use them, and when you throw them, it will lure the Mimic to that spot. The data diver also appears to be a pretty important mechanic throughout the game, with a lot of the machines that we see in the trailer looking like they're going to be using this data diver. We could also see a lot of little symbols on it, meaning that throughout the game we might be collecting these programs or abilities on the data diver that we can use on other machines throughout the facility. This device is going to be used to get us into rooms and areas, and maybe for hacking. The next potential gameplay mechanic is from the PlayStation description of the game, where it says that every flicker of light alludes to an ever-present threat. This could mean that throughout the game, as we go through the rooms, the lights may flicker, and this could mean that the Mimic is in that room or hiding in one of the mascot costumes. It's also very likely that we're going to be hiding in these mascot suits, and that might make this mechanic a lot more stressful and intense, because we'll have to choose which costume is not being hidden in already by the Mimic. Another mechanic that we might see is FNAF 1 style gameplay sections. We can see this in like the security room area, where it has the clock with 12 on it. They had these in Security Breach, so I think it's very possible that they will be in this game too. The last gameplay mechanic that will probably be in the game are boss fights. I think that we'll see boss fights throughout the game with the animatronic characters like Prototype, Music Man, and maybe even Dolly. We can also see a couple scripted sequences throughout the trailer, like the Jackie Chase scene and the Music Man scene. In the Music Man part, it looks like he's busting through a window and killing us, so that could be the intro, or it could mean that if we go into the wrong room in this section of the game, we could be killed by Music Man, because maybe he's on the roof or something. If Music Man is on the roof, then in this section, maybe we could be looking out for the rumbling or the sounds that he makes, and we'll have to navigate through the factory rooms while watching out for Music Man on the roof. In the trailer, we can also see a lot of Fall Fest related things. I think it is very possible that at least at some point in the game we'll see Fall Fest. Something that could allude to this is Music Man being outside, because he looks like a giant stage prop and he wouldn't fit inside to begin with. So I think it's very possible that he came from Fall Fest itself, which means that it could be very close to the factory. I think that it is likely that near the end of the game or something, the Mimic will go hide out in Fall Fest or the carnival, and we'll have to chase him there. Another piece of evidence for this is the PAX demo room. You can see many security cameras, one of them having the big top in it, which looks like it is close to or in Fall Fest. So on to the story now. The first thing to note is Edwin Murray's disappearance. So Edwin Murray in the story went MIA after his son's death. Nobody knows what he did in this period of time that he was missing, because he does show up later in another story, The Storyteller, as an old man after he was rehired by Fazbear Entertainment. So if we're going into his factory right after he disappeared, I think it is possible that we could end up seeing him at some point in the game, or at least we will get tapes or audio recordings of Edwin talking about his creations. We also know from the Mimic story that there was a Team A and a Team B sent to go capture the Mimic. After Fazbear Entertainment sent Team A to get the Mimic, they found him with no legs, which was his original version, and after they gave him legs, the Mimic killed them all. And then a Team B was sent out by Fazbear Entertainment. The Mimic then killed all of them too. So either we are part of Team C, or Fazbear Entertainment just started sending out individuals to go get the Mimic. But I think that we will be seeing the bodies and the corpses of Teams A and B throughout the game, as we can see with the elephant mascot costume. It also seems like the goal of the game, or the main story, is that we are trying to capture the Mimic. So the game will probably end with us capturing the Mimic, either using mixes or some other thing. At the end, we do know that he gets transferred to Fredbear's Family Diner. As for the time period, it is set in 1979, which is the earliest game in the entire series, and the exact time that the game takes place seems to be winter, so it's either right after the Mimic story or a year after. And lastly, for the story is Mixes. We know that Mixes will be involved in this game in some way because he was in the Help Wanted 2 DLC, in the van that we see in the actual trailer. And we do know that Mixes is used for containing the Mimic, so in the game we might end up creating Mixes or witnessing him being created just to capture the Mimic. And we might use Mixes at the end of the game to actually get the Mimic. Lastly is Collectibles. There's not much for this, but the only confirmed collectible that we can see are gift boxes, just like the ones we had in Security Breach. These will either give us items or notes. I think that we might end up seeing notes from Edwin Murray, or maybe even William Afton and Henry Emily. And we could also see props and tools maybe that were used in the factory in these gift boxes. Something that isn't confirmed that I think that we will be seeing in the game are audio logs or tapes as a collectible. I think that it would make sense to see tapes or audio logs throughout the game from the creators of Fazbear Entertainment, William Afton, Henry Emily, and audio logs obviously from Edwin Murray about his creations. We do know that we will be seeing blueprints of the mascot costumes and animatronics throughout the game, because in the PAX demo there were blueprints for the mascot costumes. So I think it is possible that we could be seeing these blueprints in the gift boxes too. And lastly, for the collectibles, I think that we could be collecting the icons that we see on the data diver. I think that when we first get it, it will have only one or two, and throughout the game, we'll have to go to these machines and upgrade it so that we can get into higher security parts of the factory.